B9. Home alone while grandma was on a date. Live with grandma and her parents live on the same street 4 houses down. B sitting in living room watching the Pokemon movie. Throwing Pokemon cards around everywhere because I wanted to feel like a trainer throwing Pokeballs. Hear a tapping on the glass that faces the backyard. Freeze in place. Look at window and see a figure standing on the other side. Person breaks glass. Nope the fuck out. Run faster than a Bugatti to my great-grandparents. Tell great-grandpa, and he calls the police. Police show up and look around, check for prints, none, and check the house to see if they're hiding. Cop finds something on my pile of thrown Pokemon cards. Shows it to great-grandpa. He begins to cry a bit. Grandma comes home not knowing shit, no cell phones. Police tell her everything, show her what was found on Pokemon cards. She breaks down and cries. Police leave and we stay with great-grandparents until the next day when the window gets fixed. Grandma replaces all the locks and buys a gun. Don't understand why they're so scared. 2 years later I bring it up and grandma shows me what scared her. It was a picture from the inside of my closet. The date on the photo was from 2 days before the break-in. And in the photo I can be seen sleeping in my bed. Be on a ship. Working at night alone. Hear singing coming from far away. When I look in the direction the sound is coming from, it stops. I just ignore it for the next hour, think maybe a fisherman singing. The voice starts becoming louder and louder. Sun is already rising. The voice is so loud, coming right from right next to our ship. I go and check around. The voice stops, there is nothing. No boats, not anything. I swear to God I never believed in any of you guys here until I started reading these stories and suddenly made some connections. I swear to God this is all true. I live in Pennsylvania just outside the city of Reading. There's a lot of thick forests around here but nothing ridiculous and it's mostly suburbs where I am. Farther out it's highways and farmland. Lucky for me I live right up at the edge of a small community at the very top of a hill. The forest is literally across the street from me. Anyway, somewhere around a year or 2 ago my dad and I were outside having a personal chat about some recent tough events going on in my house when suddenly we heard a weird sound in the forest across the road. We both stopped and looked over. I didn't think deer came out this late, I think I said. My dad just stared and looked kinda confused. Then suddenly we heard someone yell something like "Help, I'm bleeding." We both sat there staring into the woods where it came from. My dad stood up and said to get inside. We both rushed in and I watched him run upstairs to grab his handgun. My dad's a rough sorta guy and always heads for his gun if he thinks something's going down. Something was definitely fucking going down. I opened our back door again to our deck, it was a glass door, and peeked back out towards the forest to see if anyone would come sprinting out or something. Keep in mind we're at the edge of the suburbs and not exactly used to hearing people scream bloody murder in the middle of the night. Then I heard it. This loud, weird screech. It was like a cat or a woman but it definitely wasn't human. It was weird, like it was high-pitched but not, and filled the entire neighborhood for a full 10 seconds before it suddenly went silent. I slammed the glass door shut and ran to the stairs just in time to see my dad stomping down in boots with his pistol. "Did you hear that?" I remember asking him. He just nodded and we both head out the front. By now a bunch of our neighbors were coming outside too. The scream was really fucking loud but I didn't even expect all these people to come out this late. It was almost midnight. My dad went down to the street and looked up at the forest. Another guy came up to my dad and he had some kinda handgun too. I watched them start chatting for a bit until suddenly another one of those screams pierced the air again. It was horrible and made me feel sick to my stomach. It went on for something like another 10 seconds and just suddenly cut off. Like fucking idiots my dad and this random neighbor guy decide to point their guns towards the forest and head in. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my dad is a hunter and he's been doing it since he was a kid. He's almost 40, but I'd be damned if I'd do something like that. They must have been in the forest for a good 20 minutes together, searching the darkness for God knows what. I sat outside with a bunch of neighbors that entire time, staring into the forest and waiting. Eventually they came back just fine. They stuck together the entire time according to my dad and thought they saw something like a tall guy in the forest at some point. When they tried to see if he was the one screaming, apparently he got on all fours and hauled ass into the forest. We all were pretty shaken up but parted ways and head back to our houses. That was pretty fucking weird and no police or anything ever checked it out, but eventually we all moved past it. A long while after that there was a separate incident that I didn't exactly connect to the first. Later that year I was sitting outside with my friend on my back porch. We were talking and having a grand old time dicking around when I saw my cat Jinx pawing at my glass window. "What a stupid cat," my friend said. I agreed with him and played with the cat, putting my finger on the window while he pawed at my finger wherever it went. That's not what's weird though. Later that night I was in my room playing a game with my window open. My cat was somewhere in the house, along with all our dogs, so I know he was fine. It's important to note that my neighborhood has a real problem with stray cats though. Anyway, I was sitting there playing some games with my window open when I heard what sounded like a cat meowing outside. I paused my game, wondering if Jinx had gotten outside, and went to my window to listen. I heard that meow again, but it was a long, deep one, that kind you hear from a cat when they're pissed and backed in a corner with their claws out. I recognized it wasn't my cat, but it was still coming from the woods behind my house, so I stared into them and tried to see where the stray was at and what it was getting so pissy at. The cat did that deep, long, angry meow again, and it sounded sorta close to my actual yard. I heard some shuffling in the woods and then something weird happened. I thought I could hear someone talking. Except it wasn't like a normal person's voice. It was like some mentally unstable person trying to mimic someone else really badly. It was something like "Shtuayupad art." Immediately I got creeped out, but, seeing as how my window was on the second floor, I felt fairly safe to keep listening. Then I realized the voice was changing. "Shtuapid caat." It clicked. It sounded like something trying to sound like my friend but doing really, really badly. Then there was a serious scuffle. I heard twigs breaking and the cat just going apeshit. I mean, it was really screeching and meowing like it was fighting for life or death. Then there was this loud thumping sound. It was like something big and heavy smacking against something else solid. After that the meowing stopped completely and whatever was out there went dead silent. I was pretty creeped out by this point and I shut my window and had real trouble sleeping that night. Nothing's really happened since, aside from one incident where I was getting a drink late one night and thought I saw someone crouching really super low on my back porch and looking into my glass door. Like I saw light reflect off their eyes, like when you see an animal at night or something. The door was locked and it really freaked me right the fuck out and made me sprint to my room and wake up my dad, but he didn't find anyone or anything, and I've been assuming it was just me being scared from all these stories on /x/. Now that I've read all these stories, I'm freaking the fuck out. I've never seen one about something even remotely close to these things happening around my area, but now I'm freaking the fuck out. That shit was literally in my backyard. But yeah, that's all I got. Ah shit, I love telling this story. Working in far northern Alberta. Area where it's literally a huge ass forest and only signs of civilization is oil/gas wells and plants. It's all muskeg in the forest area. Muskeg is scary just by itself. It's literally soft ground from decaying stuff in the forest that has grass growing on top. It can be immensely deep water/rotting plants and animals, but thick enough for grass to grow and some small trees to even take root. It's Alberta's quicksand. Moose are known to venture into it and get stuck and drown. In areas like this, some of the wells can only be visited by most vehicles in winter. Some are even more remote and can only be accessed by helicopter even in winter. I picked up a pretty sweet job on one of the helicopter runs doing maintenance for 2 years. I want to stress these locations are at least 300 to 400 kilometers away from any real civilization at this point, and traveling in these areas is dangerous not only because of animals but shit like muskeg. One summer my pilot lands us down. As we land, a guy exits the little shack set up on site. He looks pretty normal. Little tattered and rough, but looks like a normal human. Fairly straight cut short black hair. Bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. Iron Maiden t-shirt that is way too large. Regular blue jeans. He's going towards the tree line. Yell out to him something like, "Hey, what are you doing here? We can help you get home." He keeps going. Yell out again, "What the fuck, man? How did you get out here? We can help you." Pilot even yells out something like, "We can cancel our run and get you to safety." He makes it to the tree line while we are yelling. He stops. Looks back kind of. His face kind of slips into a smile. He then runs into the trees and disappeared. No one at work believed us. Still stuck with me. Not really paranormal, but truly the weirdest thing I have ever experienced. I just want to know what he was doing out there. Everything in the shack was normal. Coming from mobile. Can't pre-type. Bear with me. B 2002. 19 years old, directionless Spurg, still living with mom. She's got money, buys house out in the sticks. 2-story with basement, 3-car garage. Not bad. Move in, things are cool first night. Begin setting up my room upstairs, discover crawl space entry for attic. Decide to investigate. Open up, crawl in, was a little door about 2.5 x 4 feet. Tiny window I couldn't find but could see from outside, illuminating room. Runs full length of the house north to south. East wall is floor to ceiling covered in a dry erase board. Loaded with drawings clearly made by children with what appeared to be permanent markers. No idea how old the drawings are. Best guess is 2 or 3 kids. Normal stuff. Cars. Family. Rocket ships. Each other. Mom and dad. And one weird figure. Always drawn completely black. Short legs. Long arms. Long hair. No face, just a black circle. Going from north to south, figure becomes more common, larger, more prominent. Closer to the family but always behind. Always the same features though. This isn't creepy or anything. JPG. Aside from that wall, room is 100% bare. Just a layer of dust. Leave, seal it up, put dresser in front of it. Play video and try to forget. Middle of second night, hear a weird sound. From upstairs, I crashed on the couch watching TV. Sounds like something bouncing and rolling from north to south on second floor, on hardwood. Only hardwood floor upstairs is crawl space. For about 3 hours it goes north to south, then south to north, then back. Then stops. Go to sleep anyway, convince myself it's the wood settling with new weight on it because I'm a skeptical retard. Night 3, hear it again with something else accompanying it. Meyer shavido being tom.gif. It's fucking feet. Bare feet. Small ones. Running after the bouncing sound that I now realize I recognize as one of those ultra bouncy rubber super balls. Next morning, open crawl space to investigate. More coming. There are fucking footprints in the dust layer, not even half the size of my size 13 boots that I was wearing when I was in here yesterday. But only one set, moving north to south, then south to north. Basically a perfect loop. Only other tracks are mine. MFW. Close up crawl space, put dresser back, play video. Hear bouncing noise start again. Hear feet again. 2 sets now. Second set sounds heavier. Larger person. Close to my size, 6'170" at the time. Fast. Chasing after smaller feet. Same pattern. North to south, south to north, repeat. Super ball noise is firmer now, like it's being thrown instead of just bounce rolled. Put in earbuds, jam to Og Metallica, ignore. Tell mom when she gets home from work. She's naturally skeptical too. Next night nothing happens. No sounds, nothing. Starts up at the crack or dawn. Third set of feet, lighter than second, accompanying the first. Try to ignore. Sounds stop, resume video on living room TV. Suddenly hear something coming down the stairs. Bouncing. Cat decides this is an excellent time to suddenly become completely insane. Poofs out to the size of a basketball and begins growling and hissing at the stairs. A motherfucking super ball comes bouncing down the stairs and I hear tiny footsteps run away from top of the stairwell. Again MFW. Mid-July in Iowa, nearly 95 degrees out IIRC. AC is off because broken. Massive cold draft now coming from upstairs. Cat fucks off to the porch, yowling and screaming like he's being eaten. Pick up and stare at super ball. Looks old as fuck. Chunk missing out of it. Take outside, throw in dumpster. That night, no sounds. Nothing. Garbage pick up the next day. Silence for a week. More coming. Sounds start again one night. All 3 sets of feet, super ball. Officially freaked but more angry. Mom hears them too. Go upstairs, to your open crawl space. Footprints fucking everywhere in dust. 3 distinct sets of little kid footprints. And 1 set that looks like Shaq has been in our attic. Barefoot. 4 toes, missing pinky toe. Larger than my boot. Way too fucking spoopy for me. Seal crawl space. Spend 20 minutes caulking the door shut to make sure it stays that way. Going back downstairs, hear footsteps behind me running across the hall. Look back. The fucking super ball is at the top of the stairs. MFW. Slowly back downstairs. Sounds start again about 30s after I sat down. But quieter. Only the lighter feet and ball. Decide to check something. Turn on upstairs light that illuminates top of the stairs. MFW, the fucking ball is gone. Go stay with my aunt for a week because fuck this. Mom says noises stopped after I left. Come back, they start within 5 minutes of me getting home and getting my stuff unpacked from aunt's. Hear loud thud from crawl space door. Nonagi ain't opening that shit. MP4. Then hear ball bouncing off wall at face height. Over and over. Hear it hit the wall, then the floor, then pause, and repeat. Balls a moment I say hey, play quieter please. Sounds stop dead. And then nothing for 3 days. Final day story in next post. Morning of last day sounds start again. Just the ball. No feet. The silence. Suddenly hear bouncing noise again. But now it's coming down the stairs and hitting the walls on the way down. But nothing is coming down the fucking stairs. Happens over and over for probably an hour. Remember this next shit vividly. Playing in TFT singles weekend tourney. Gimme dad fell guard. Game starts. Hear massive crash from upstairs. Sounds like shit flying everywhere. Then the bouncing. Power in entire house browns out for 2 to 3s. So much for the tourney. Head for the stairs scared as shit. The ball is at the bottom of the stairs to greet me like hello mortal plaything. Pick it up, go upstairs. My dresser is in fucking pieces and the door to the crawl space is knocked off its hinges. Room is easily 15 feet across and there are pieces of my dresser and clothes against far wall. MFW. Sprint downstairs. Outside. Hurl ball into field behind home. Turn around to go back inside. Window to crawl space in plain view. Completely black. Couldn't make out finer details because nearsighted. like a 3D shadow blocking out the window. Watch as it slowly moves away from the window. Find my nuts, head back inside. Cleaning up dresser, packing my shit because I'd rather live with my aunt than this. Have to be right by crawl space entrance for this. Bounce bounce bounce. Ball rolls out of crawl space like it shouldn't be 60 yards deep in the field I just threw it into. Nope. Avi. Here breathing in crawl space. Kmunpukale spurnt this motherfucker down. Rar. Grab shit, out. Force mom to leave with me. Take cat. Go to ants. We go back next day to finish getting shit and out. Yayer their fire trucks. Biz. Fire in upstairs. My room and crawl space destroyed. Investigator blames faulty electric. Get shit. Out. Never return. Next person that bought the land tore the house down after 2 months. OK/X/ I've been wanting to tell you this for a while. For some background, I work in a petrol station located on the highway. Mostly night shifts, 3 p.m. to midnight, so I'm used to the weird, the creepy, and the downright paranormal. But this normal shift, people coming and going. It's about 7, things are dark and store is slowing down a bit. Behind console area. Look to my left and lock eyes, not that I could mind you, with a woman. Frail, thin, elderly, with wrinkled skin and giant fly-eyed sunglasses on, that cover half her face. Immediately get the jitters from her. She walks slowly to the door, I had to manually make it open to let her in as the auto doors didn't pick her up. Makes her way to the console. Stares at me, can't tell, still wearing those creepy sunnies. Can you come outside and take a look at my car, I think something's wrong. Voice is soft in volume but deep and resonating, like I felt it more than I heard it. Decline, explain policy with leaving as only staff on site. Okay then. She walks off to the toilet. Now here is where alarms bells starting going off. Serving other customers, stragglers here and there. She comes out of the bathroom after 5 minutes. Walks over to me again. There's no toilet paper, could you come get me some? Alarm bells, something in my head says not to go out there. Get some staff toilet paper from behind console. Here you go ma'am. Her demeanor is sour, or as far as I can tell with those fucking sunnies. Okay. She walks back into the toilet. About another 5 minutes she walks back out, and wanders around the shop. I watch her and notice she flicks her head in my direction every now and then, like scanning me. She walks to coffee machine, then calls out to me. Her voice is louder this time, but it feels more like a knife this time, shrill and freezing. There's no milk in here, can you replace it? I'd like a coffee. I know I should do it, but fuck every something is fucking up alarm in my body and brain was screaming not to. Decline and say I can't leave the console at this hour of the night. She gets visibly annoyed, saying how shitty my customer's service is. She threatens to contact my manager if I don't come out and change the milk. Decline and apologize, even off manager's number. She tries 3 more times to get me out over the next 20 minutes. Finally gives up and walks off, glaring at me through the windows as she rounds the shop out of sight. Last part coming. Rest of shift goes by without a hitch. No creepy things, surprisingly mellow and normal shift. Still have sense of dread in my stomach. Swap over and leave at 12:30 a.m., walking to my car about 50 m in the parking lot. As I get closer, the fucking glasses, scarf, and gloves she was wearing around folded neatly, the glasses resting on top, in a pile on the ground by my driver's side door. Look around, sense of dread intensifying. Quick as a flash I unlock my car, jump in and lock it again. No time to relax, start car, and gun it out of there. Never been so fearful in my life. That sense of dread never left, I got home and needed a few drinks before I could loosen up enough to even consider sleep. Osfig here, I'll tell a story from when I was on a road trip a few years back. Be me. Decide one night after drinking heavily to gather a few friends and go on a road trip to Sydney from Adelaide for the long weekend. Pack the van, figure it'll be more than a day's trip, so we will have to camp out for a night unless friends want to keep driving throughout the night. We leave fairly late in the day because we underestimate how lazy/hungover we all are. Get on the road at around lunchtime. Make good progress, flooring it on the highway. It starts to get quite late into the night and we've all had a turn driving. Friend starts to feel really uneasy and carsick. Fuck it, we will just pull over and camp for the night. Friend gets increasingly sick throughout the night, starts throwing up constantly into plastic bags in the van. No way in fuck I'm sleeping in the van. Myself and my other mate set up our swags, kinda like a mini tent/sleeping bag for one person, out in a rest and revive station set up along the highway, but within eyeshot of the van. Beautiful night. Full moon and bright as shit. Swag has a flap you can open so you can see out at the sky, but with mesh to protect you from bugs and shit. Decide to leave mine open to talk to mate and watch the stars. Eventually fall asleep with the flap still open. I wake up in the middle of the night due to a something dropping onto/hitting my face. It feels warm. It smells horrible. I start to absolutely freak the fuck out, but I'm frozen with fear. What the fuck is going on? My eyes slowly adjust and I can see a silhouette of something peering into my swag. I violently close my eyes and pray to fucking God that I don't die. The swag shudders suddenly as if something climbed on top of it, but then the silhouette disappears. I hear the van door open and then running. Sick friend rushes over to my swag and unzips in it hysterics. Are you fucking okay? Oh God, I watched it the whole time, where the fuck is Aaron? We both turn on our phone torches and leg it over to his swag. It looks as if it has been dragged a few meters and the pegs are out of the ground. He's literally fucking frozen and wide-eyed. He starts whimpering, crying. We grab him up and bolt to the van. Lock the doors. Huddle on the floor under a blanket for the next few hours until sunup. 3 grown men cowering in fear. The next morning we start the van and just drive, leaving our shit behind. Come to the nearest police station in Horsham. Tell cops our story. They follow us back to where we were set up for the night. Sure enough, Aaron's swag had been moved, a trail from where we first set it up. The top of both of our swags is spattered in something, looks like spots of dried saliva on the mesh, smells awful. Like decayed meat. Pack our shit up and leave, back towards Adelaide. We have no fucking idea what happened that night. Cops think it may have been some sort of animal. Mark is adamant that whatever he saw outside the van was stooped over and moved erratically, never camping out during the night again. Fuck my country so hard. Camping with friends. Walking along this path with my friend talking loudly. She asks me. Oh crap, Meg, did you bring that extra sleeping bag for me? Yeah, I got it, we're good. We keep walking. Getting pretty far away from camp. Suddenly from the brush cross the stream that our path paralleled. Be did ye be berbing da ye tra ye ple be fo me. It was so inhuman, sounding like an animal almost. It repeats several times. Each time it sounds more and more like my friend. We are terrified. We start running back. Hear leaves moving behind us. Too afraid to look. From behind us in a low whimper. Wide-eyed, I'm hurt. Sounds just like me. I'm crying. We keep running. As we get closer to the opening into the field we were camping in, the bushes are thicker. We're not real fit and we had been running pretty hard. Gasping for air. Directly from the right of us. Tired yet. Sounds like her again with almost a bark. Shaking so hard at this point. I turn and look back. See this massive mound of fur in the bushes, turn and go back the way we came from. Get to camp and tell our friends what happened. They of course don't believe us. We refuse to stay there that night. Get in her car and drive to town and sleep in a cheap motel. About 10 p.m. her phone rings. Friends at the camp. Jesus, will you guys give it up? It's been 2 hours, you're not scaring us, just keeping us from sleeping. Friend gets hysterical, telling them to leave. They're convinced we drove back there and are in the woods yelling that we're hurt and for them to come help us. I turn up the motel TV and let them hear that we're in town. They hang up immediately and drive to our motel and spend the rest of the night. Next day we go back for our shit and never go camping again. Recently moved. New school. Made some friends. Hanging out during lunch. Friend runs up, guys, the dildo banditos have struck again. The wadash. Everybody gets up and runs to a locker that has a dildo superglued to it. It's mine. I wonder whose locker it is. Poor guy, I hope he has some good friends. Explain, it's my locker. They start treating me like I'm about to die. New friends avoid me the rest of the day. So confused. Walking home from school, get jumped by 3 kids wearing masks and sombreros. They beat the shit out of me with dildos. To this day I'm still really confused and disturbed by the whole event. Be with pals, exploring in the deep woods. Come across an old abandoned house. Door is broken already. We look at each other, why the fuck not? Creep in. Lots of garbage all over the floor. Wall is plastered with porn. But all the ladies' eyes are cut out. What the fuck? Friend in the back suddenly screeches. We leg it out there in no time. Says he saw a head hanging. Bullshit, I say, but I'm freaked. Wanna leave immediately. Other friend with more balls than sense takes out his knife and walks in. We wait outside like pussies, with bated breath. He starts laughing hysterically. We see this laugh as well. Still fucking creepy though. Another pic. Lots of freaks out in the woods. July last year. Live in Estes Park, Colorado. Literally hipster central. We all get really sick of tourists who come camping during this time of year and clog up our streets. One of our friends manages to find time to get away and go into the woods non-natives couldn't find. She's a photographer, read, Instagram, but still has an old Kodak camera. Decides she's going to spend the night up in the Rockies and take great photos tourists can't get. Comes back the next day with 4 goddamn rolls of film of nature. Gets them developed so she can show us the same goddamn trees from 8 different goddamn angles. Get really bored going through these photos she's showing us. I hate nature. Start speed viewing, flipping all of the developed photos with my thumb. Finish, blink, realizing something's off. Go back slowly. How'd you get the camera to take pictures of you? I didn't. 4 pictures are of her asleep in her tent with a flashlight on her body at night. Fuck nature, fuck the woods, and especially fuck Colorado. Live in a small town of 300. We all know each other pretty well. One day a woman ends up beaten and raped. She was a bit of a slut, we figured she'd gotten into a bad situation with some guy. A few days later an old woman ends up in the hospital after rape and stabbed. We're all a little freaked now. A third woman gets pulled into an abandoned home and stabbed almost to death. Police force not trained for this shit. About a month goes by. 16 at the time. Me and boyfriend fall asleep cuddling on my trampoline. He leaves during the night, didn't want to get in trouble with his mom. Doesn't wake me up, I'm cranky when woken up. Wake up at about 5 a.m. The sky is getting lighter and I hear someone walking around by the empty house next door. Don't think a lot about it. Wake up a little later to sirens and havoc across the street. Family is standing on porch. The woman across the street was hacked to death with an axe. Tell police about hearing someone at the house next door. They find the fucker in there. Homeless man from a few towns away. Went crazy or some shit. He had been hiding in there over a month. A guy was so close. Finally we got other people posting some stories. As promised, I have some more stories. This next one I suppose will please both non-paranormal and paranormal fans. This story comes from my uncle. Uncle B in 20s. Uncle out driving late at night through a mountain in northwest Georgia known as Red Top. If we have any North Georgia fags in here, you can come and back me on how fucking creepy this mountain is / used to be. Anyways. Back to story. Uncle driving through main road that goes from Ackworth to Cartersville. Drives around sharp curve on road that is nearing the end of the mountain. Uncle B having good time listening to tunes. Dave look. Man tied to chair covered in blood yelling for uncle to stop. Uncle grabs gun and stops car to check on injured man. Man has several lacerations across his body. Uncle says none seemed lethal but he was bleeding like a stuck pig. Man is scream for uncle to get him the fuck out of there. Uncle calls police and stays with man until cops come. Uncle hears something walking in woods. Walking gets closer. Uncle fires a few shots in general direction to let stalkers know to fuck off. Many footsteps running back into woods. Uncle finds out that a cult is in area and has been ambushing hikers on trails for the past few months. Trail near area is closed down for investigated murder several months later. I don't know if the area has gotten any better, but I haven't heard of anything in recent years. What I do know is I never go hiking out there alone. I have more stories that aren't as creepy as this one that have happened at this mountain if anyone would like. B8 or so in the 90s. Vacationing in Orlando. Staying at a Radisson. It is summertime but literally no one else except for one couple is staying there it seems. Hallways are deserted, no one goes in or comes out except for my family, mom, stepdad, baby brother, and this young couple. Staff is a bunch of Italians who give off a sinister vibe. Mother is insistent that this place is run by the mafia or something. One day the boyfriend asks us if we've seen his girl. It seems she went missing in the hotel when she went off to get snacks or something. I'm 8. It's foggy. Mother noped the fuck out and made the call to check out immediately. Staff is insistent on us not leaving. We finally make it out and I am in the car. Mother says she forgot something and goes back in. Me and stepdad and baby brother wait. Time passes. Too much time passes. Stepfather goes in to check it out. I'm in the car alone for a while. See several men walk out from behind the building carrying garbage bags and suitcases and putting them into the back of a van. Stepfather and mother finally come back. Apparently a few of the staff had tried to block her from the door, making up some shit about having to pay for another night since blah blah, and invited her into the back room to sign something. Once again, memory is foggy. It didn't click until years later how sketchy the garbage bag guys were. It's been 49 hours since my light went dead and left Maine in the dark. The 14 dots from my wristwatch can show nothing in this total vacuum of light. Nothing but count down the time to my ending. I busted the crystal so I could feel the hands. Gingerly running my finger lightly over the face. There is nothing but waiting. Every now and then I see a small dot of light, the random wayward photon activating my retina, or a stray particle passing through Earth, nothing more. Just a split second of false hope followed by nothing but black. The darkness must be getting to me as I feel my mind slipping away from me. The only thing that keeps me partially sane is the torrent of sound made by water running beside me. It reminds me of a fan running in the quiet bright of outside night. The darkest room is as the surface of the sun compared to this place. To think I came here for fun. The lack of luminance is wreaking havoc on my mind. It swirls and spins in a vertigo of 3 days drunk. The walls spinning like the eye of a tornado, if only I could see them. I vomit the water and lay down against the cool rock, praying to every invisible deity for mercy. I retch and vomit again. Groaning against the earth, I think about killing myself and laugh when I realize I can't see to make it painless. The spinning slows to an out-of-control teacup ride and I drink some more water. The irony of being trapped here next to liquid life has not escaped me. 3 weeks. That is the figure I read once, that the average human can survive without food if they had a steady supply of water. Combined with the 6 power bars in my pack, I could cling to life for a month. Maybe a month and a half. 6 weeks of darkness, vertigo, vomiting, and water. The humorous part is it might be the best tasting water I've ever had. We found your son's body inside a small cave about 500 feet from the path, ma'am, the park ranger explained into the phone connected to the weeping woman. As near as we can tell, he was exploring a small cave when the ceiling caved in. He had some power bars and was next to a stream. Are you sure you want to know that? Okay, the preliminary report is saying he lived about 3 weeks. Death is listed as starvation in conjunction with exposure. No ma'am, he wouldn't have been able to dig himself out. There wouldn't have been any need to. Well ma'am, I mean your son was on the outside of the cave-in. Only about 10 feet inside the cave. Ma'am, I know you are distraught, but we must have not been around to hear him cry for help. Well, the coroner believes a stone fell and struck your son in the head, causing a minor subdural hematoma in the rear part of his head. No ma'am, he wasn't unconscious. It means that your son was rendered almost instantly blind.